Dear friends in Jesus Christ, today we are in the 25th Sunday of Year B. The Gospel reading is taken from St. Mark chapter 9 and verses from 30 to 37. Last Sunday we heard the first of the three predictions from Jesus about his suffering, death and resurrection. This Sunday we hear the second prediction, and like the last Sunday, this Sunday also we hear the reactions of his disciples and the response of Jesus to their reactions. The image that the first reading of today gives us the vindication of a righteous man. The same is reflected in the Gospel as Jesus predicts for the second time about his suffering, death, and resurrection. Jesus tells this to his disciples on their way to Jerusalem through Galilee. When they reached Capernaum, Jesus asked them what they were arguing about on the way. But they remained silent. It was a silence of embarrassment of the disciples, because they were not discussing or reflecting about what Jesus was telling them, what Jesus was teaching them. They were not interested and welcomed the idea of suffering and death, but they were discussing about their favorite and interesting topic among themselves: who was the greatest? Because they thought that Jesus would emerge as victorious and become king of the world in a worldly sense. It shows that the disciples were far from understanding Jesus and his mission as well as their discipleship. Then Jesus sat down and called the disciples to listen. The body posture of sitting is a teaching posture of a master, rabbi, or guru who teaches his disciples. Thus, Jesus deliberately takes this position of teaching so that his disciples may understand the importance and the seriousness of his teaching. Jesus said to them, "If anyone wishes to be first, he shall be the last of all and servant of all." Jesus is not abolishing their ambition, but rather he gives them another ambition. The ambition that Jesus gave them was contrary to their ambition that they were having. They wanted to be greatest, but Jesus is telling them the opposite. They wanted to rule, but Jesus is telling them to serve. Then Jesus, taking a child, placed it in their midst, and putting his arms around it, he said to them, "Whoever receives one child such as this in my name receives me. And whoever receives me receives not me, but the one who sent me." Here, Jesus teaches them in a very practical and concrete way. At the time of Jesus, children did not have any legal rights. They cannot own any possessions and positions. In other words, children were powerless and did not have any social standing. Jesus tells his disciples to receive and accept these powerless and rightless people in his name. It is an invitation to be associated with the powerless people. Further, a child needs our help and support, and you have to do things for them, and thus you become servant of others. Jesus placed the child in the midst of them at the center of them. By this gesture, Jesus tells us, let the vulnerable become the center of our life. A simple gesture, but a great teaching for all of us. Dear brothers and sisters, we derive the following reflections from this passage. First, if our heart and mind are full of our own desires and expectations, we cannot understand the teachings of Jesus. And more than that, we become occupied with the things contrary to his teachings. Thus, we are called to empty ourselves, to empty our own desires and expectations. Second, the whole gospel passage of today is in the backdrop of their journey, the way. It is not a mere physical or geographical journey or way, but rather it denotes a spiritual journey of each one of us. Is our journey is towards the greatness as disciples were discussing, or towards serving others as Jesus was teaching? And third, we are in the world of rat race, where everyone is running to become great and greatest. As per the values of the world, greatness is defined by power and wealth. Or one needs to be associated with the people who are in power and who are wealthy, because these give social status and influence. But Jesus invites us to be associated with the powerless people. In this consumeristic and power-longing world, we are called to see Christ in others, especially who are insignificant, powerless, and vulnerable. May God bless you all. Amen.